This is a big talker, getting kids back into the classroom, a top priority for so many, right? But in many cases, it's proving to be easier said than done. Mayor de Blasio here in New York City vowing to resume in-person learning in New York City in the fall.
In New Jersey, some districts, they were supposed to begin a mix of hybrid in-person learning this week, but that was delayed due to a lack of staff.
Joining us this morning is the mayor of Montclair Township in New Jersey, Sean Spiller, who also serves as the vice president of the New Jersey Education Association. So Mayor Spiller, thanks for joining us once again here on the Pick 7 Morning News. Welcome back.
Good to be with you. Thank you.
It's almost been a year since Montclair schools actually closed down because of the pandemic, right? Moved remotely. It was a big day on Monday. Hybrid model was supposed to resume. What are the talks? Where do they stand right now to get kids and teachers back into classrooms?
Well, there's a mediator right now who is working to really bring everyone together to listen to the issues, to talk through them, to see if there's a way to connect, where they happen to be missing one another in the conversations, to hopefully get everybody on track to get our kids back in school, but to do so in a safe way.
Well, Montclair isn't the only district facing staffing issues and being forced to remain closed. But I got to ask you, the CDC yesterday just put out more information saying, look, schools can open and you can do it safely. And they even cited the numbers showing that students aren't really causing an increase in coronavirus cases. So what are you telling your teachers? I mean, how are you backing the concerns with science?
Yeah, well, I think the numbers kind of show we've got over 400 districts here in New Jersey that are open in some way, that have students back. And I think they've looked at it collaboratively and figured out a way to say what issues need to be addressed to make sure that this building, it's got to be building by building, quite frankly, room by room, and is safe for a safe return for students and staff. That's occurred in many cases, but we also have 270 or so or more that have not quite figured those pieces out, have determined that because of the rate in their community, because of a lot of factors, improvements that haven't been able to be made, they are not ready to go back yet. So I think it varies. It's a condition that you look at, again, not only school district by district, building by building, classroom by classroom, to kind of figure out how that works.
So on Monday, when they were supposed to go back to school, what was the big issue? Right? Was it the teachers union saying, we don't want our teachers back in there, we don't feel safe? Because we spoke to a number of parents who were very excited about the thoughts of their children going back.
Yeah, well, first I want to say everyone's excited about going back. Everyone wants to do that. I think we're all looking for that return to whatever that new normal is, when we can get back in and be with kids and have kids getting educated in person. There's nothing better than that. So let's just be clear. But I think one of the challenges, I know that the district did commission an independent report, looking at all of the rooms and assessing, where they needed to be. I think there was a desire to see some follow-up to that, to say, where does that stand? Have those improvements been made? And that's where the conversation is at right now, to kind of get a determination.
But let me ask you this, why haven't they been made? It's been almost a year since the schools were shut down, right? We knew that ventilation issues were a problem in the spring and the summertime, and it seems like the proper ventilation in gymnasiums and so forth are some of the biggest concerns raised by the union. So what took so long?
Yeah, listen, there's a great question. I know that the superintendent's been asked that a number of times, the board at every meeting I listen to, and I hear these questions coming in. But I also understand the difficulty in the scope of the work, right? You're talking about very old buildings. I think this is an infrastructure problem like we see in, like I said, at least 270 or so other districts or others throughout the state, and I'm sure throughout the nation, where are you bringing in individual air purification units, which I know the district is trying to do, because some buildings, the HVAC system just can't handle the thicker filters. That's a $20 million investment. If you want to try and upgrade that, that can't happen even in a period of a year. What are alternatives in terms of opening windows with some air filtration system in a room, unit by unit? They're looking at all these different solutions, and I think the problem and the challenge is when you kind of put that together patchwork, because you can't do a broad, $26 million investment in the middle of a pandemic when resources aren't available. That becomes, one of the sticking points.
But Mayor, it's been quite some time, and as you look at the improvements that we've seen in other school districts across the nation, the CDC cites it very clearly. In North Carolina, 11 school districts they studied, 90,000 students over a 9-week period. Only 32 students got infections, and let me take that back, not 32 students, but 32 teachers got infections. The students did not infect the teachers. So when you are talking to the union and the teachers, how are you helping, as I asked earlier, dispel some of the fear? Because it's not just about ventilation. I think it's a mindset that I'm going to go to school and I'm going to get infected.
Yeah, I think you really hit on it there. That's the perfect, I think, way to frame the question. It's really about safety, right? So I think it's every district, every building is different. Some have, yes, addressed it with ventilation. Some have looked at PPE. Some have also looked at it and said we're going to do split classes, lower the number of students, better spacing. Now there's talk, we all know, of vaccinations and other pieces.
Right.
There's testing that occurs. Everybody's looking at this in terms of, let's look at all the tools available, let's see what we can do, and let's see if it can be safe.
So
there is absolutely, that's happened here in New Jersey, as I knew before, 400 something districts.
Right.
That process is happening. It's just a matter of, it is still different in every district, and some of those needs
Of course.
vary as well.
Yeah, I know. And my father is an educator in New Jersey as well, so I know it's different in every single district. But just to arm some parents and teachers with some information, what is a tick-tock, a timeline then? If it was supposed to happen this Monday, when do you anticipate it happening moving forward now, specifically in your town of Montclair?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the answer will be, and it's to be clear, it's whenever everyone feels it's safe, and those ones that are having the discussion, I'm not, part of those conversations. You've got the administration from the school district, you've got the educators, in a room having that conversation, and that's tight to make sure they can figure things out. So I get bits and pieces, but the hope is as soon as possible. That's the goal. It's as soon as possible when they kind of go through some of those checklist items, review pieces, make sure it's safe, because no one wants. Look, the bottom line is here in Montclair, we've been devastated by 63 people who've lost their lives to this coronavirus, and at the core, we want kids educated. We want it done safely, and we were all on the same page with that, whether that be parents, administrators, educators. That's the goal. Let's get it done as fast as possible, as safe as possible, and we're all together on that.
All right, Mayor Spiller, we appreciate your information and your honesty that you simply don't know. When you do, will you come back on just as soon as possible?
Absolutely. Thanks so much.
All right. Thanks, Mayor.